So hello, I'm Bethany White and I will be painting over here for you to demonstrate. And I've been a member of the Harrow Art Society for 7 years, I believe, which has been really lovely. I was painted by Danny Green, which was fantastic. I was a bit fidgety though, I think I was like 12 or 13, so I hadn't quite mastered the art of modelling yet, but I'm sure I'll be better now. So I've enjoyed meeting a lot of people who are here, which has been very nice. And yeah, so I'll be painting myself. I guess whilst we're in lockdown, there's kind of not really many other people to take photographs of, and you're around yourself a lot of the time, so I have myself as a reference. So I think we'll begin. So I tend to start with a acrylic base layer. So I'll just get my burnt umber acrylic and I'll mix it with some white on a palette. And then I'll mix it with a lot of water. And then I'll just cover the canvas, and then whilst it's drying we can just have a little question and answer session if anyone has any questions. So currently I'm just grabbing some white paint, putting it in a jar, and then I'll mix that together with some water and make a nice base layer. And let me know if you can't hear or if I cut out. You could just say in the chat box if there's any problems. And this will be a 40-minute call, and then you have to click on the link again, and it will just send you straight back to this call, and we'll just continue where we left off. Okay. Now I've got my lovely concoction of of brown and white, and I'll just paint a very base layer on. And feel free to paint along with me. I think that would be quite lovely if we're all painting together with our cups of tea and coffee. Very nice. Okay, so why don't we take this time for you to unmute yourselves and then ask some questions if you have, or perhaps, is there a hand up button? I don't know. Yes, oh no, I don't think there is. But perhaps if you put some questions in the chat box, I can answer your questions whilst this is being painted. Slightly wobbly. Any questions? So I quite like how the colour blends together on the canvas instead of fully in here. I think it gives a much more natural look. Do you always start with the same colour acrylic? Yeah, I tend to start with just white and brown base layer, because I think it's not too, like, the contrasting when you start with the oils isn't too much. It's quite easy on the eyes, I think. So yeah, I tend to begin with this simple colour. And then also, I don't normally do the entire canvas as well. It's not really necessary, because of course I'll be doing a background, as you can see, and then if there's time, I mean, it's only an hour class with questions at the end, at the beginning. Do you prefer painting with acrylic or oils or watercolour? I definitely prefer painting with oils. I don't like acrylic at all. Perhaps it's just because I've not done a lot of it, I'm not sure. But I really like, I like how creamy the oils are and how well they blend together. I brought out some paintings of mine, which I'll show you whilst this is drying, which won't take long. It's just a acrylic wash. But yeah, I think acrylics are great if you're doing like block colour. And there's an artist called Graceland London, whose work I've been quite interested in recently. She actually painted this new front in Hampstead. She painted the ceiling, which is quite cool. I did apply for a job there, but didn't get that. Anyway, so her work is really beautiful, and she uses a lot of block acrylic. So I think for something like that, that's really useful because it just works like nicely. But I don't think the blending of acrylics together works that well, at least for me. And I've done some watercolor pieces, but nothing significant. I think I'd like to work with that a lot more in the future, but yeah, I prefer oils definitely for the creaminess and the ability to blend. Okay, so that looks about fine. I'll just do the rest of this. Any more questions? Let's see. Wondered about your choice of colour for the background, and it looks pink to me, from Angela. Yeah, I guess it does look a bit pink. I think maybe it's my acrylics. I think, yeah, it looks like kind of, yeah, like slightly light pink. But I can assure you it is just a burnt umber with some white. So, okay. So those are all the questions so far. So in the meantime, I'm going to just show you some work that I tend to make. But during the summer, I attended a portrait class with a gentleman named Tim Benson, who's one of my favourite artists. I love his work. And so that kind of opened my eyes to the more, what's the word? Kind of thick painting, thick brush strokes and all of that, which I love. I usually stuck with kind of hyper-realistic work. I think after attending the class, I was really inspired to do some kind of blotchy, like blotchy kind of colours and without blending. So perhaps I will use some acrylics in the future with that. So I wanted to show you some of these paintings that I've done whilst this is drying. Okay, because what I tend to do is I tend to paint on plastic. So obviously currently I'm painting on a canvas, but I do like to paint on plastic. And I think I like that for the way it kind of looks like, kind of see through it slightly. Maybe if I hold something behind this, I'll see it easier.
Is that oil on plastic?
Yeah, this is oil on plastic.
Oh, right, okay. I wouldn't have thought that would work.
Yeah,
so
actually.
It's a bit contradictory. Contradictory terms.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, like the acrylic one. But I am finding that, like if you were to paint acrylic onto oils, normally, obviously the acrylic would crack. And I'm finding a similar thing is happening here, because it's been about 6 months since I painted that, and I believe that's the amount of time that it takes for oils to fully dry. And I'm finding that, at least in this one, when I took it out of my sketchbook today, you can kind of, it starts to crack. So even though I love painting on plastic, on acetate, it is tending to crack. But I think I will continue to do so. Shall I say? So this is the acetate that I use. It's very flimsy, very flexible, and I like to use flathead brushes. I only use flathead brushes because I really like how it looks blocky, like in this very like in this one. You see how the colours kind of block together?
Yeah.
I've also done some. I also really enjoy doing. Where is it gone? I enjoy working with colour pencils as well. So I've done some pieces over here. This is just a very small sketchbook page with lots of different lines. I'm sure you saw this on the introduction page. This is a colour pencil drawing that I did. And the pencils that I use and will only ever use for the rest of my life are PrismaColours. And you can get those on Amazon. Quite expensive, but definitely worth it. Like, I've used many different types of pencils, and these have always been the best. Can you see? Is it blurry? It looks alright.
It was on your Instagram, that one?
Yeah, it is. And here's another piece that I did using pencils, which is very small. And yeah, I use these pencils. They are called Graphier 1000 Pentel, in case you want to get these, and they come in all different sizes. So this one is 0.8.
What about the polychromos? Sorry, have you ever used polychromos?
Yeah, polychromos. I do like.
Because I find them quite good actually. I quite like the polychromos.
Yeah, good. But I really like the PrismaColours because I find them all waxy. So I think they're quite a bit more easy to blend. But then when I've stopped drawing them and perhaps I've like rolled up with the drawing or hung it up or something, I think it kind of it creates a layer of film on the PrismaColours, which is quite strange. I think perhaps I have a drawing over there, but that will require me to show you, and I want to show you these things. Okay, some more questions. Do you use acrylic primer on the plastic before you paint it? I was thinking of clear primer. Would it make the oil adhere better? I'm probably sure it will do. Oh, sorry, you say on the plastic before you paint. No, I don't do anything on the plastic. I really like how it's kind of, how do you explain that? I think, so when you paint on a canvas, there's obviously the grooves in it and it collects up the paint inside the grooves, and so it kind of absorbs it inside. With the plastic, it doesn't do that, so whatever you put down, you'll get, essentially. So I think, especially with details, it's so much easier because, you put your paintbrush there and that's exactly what you get. Perhaps I'm not describing it as well as I could do, or perfectly, but that's at least what I think. Like, for example, I guess the part is detailed. Yeah, I just think generally it's just easier to get the details in, to get the lines in. Lovely, and thanks for sharing it. Thank you. Are those paintings from life or photos? So these drawings are all from photographs. Let's take the other way to you. Just yeah, these are all from photographs. Just, again, lockdown situation, don't have really access to people and faces. Of course my family, but they don't want to be taken photos of and painted by me. So this is a painting I did of a copy of Tim Benson's work. So in 2015, and this is something that I studied for my A-levels, in 2015 he went to Sierra Leone to look at the Ebola survivors. And I thought that was really relevant to our current situation. So what he did was, upon his travels, he painted portraits of survivors and people who were suffering from the epidemic. I think this gentleman's name is Abdullah, and I think he was a grave digger during the Ebola epidemic. And I thought of something similar, which is I could do so this series was called Faces of Ebola. So I did a similar thing called Faces of COVID-19, and that's where these come from. I will get to painting, I promise. I'll just show you a couple of things that I've done. This is where these came from, for that series of work that I did. This one also. See, I love the acetate because you can see through it and you can layer on top. So, for example, I could layer these two images together and you can see through them. I think it's lovely. What else can I show you? Yeah, so I guess that's all with showing you things that I've done, and we'll get on to painting. I'm sure it's dry now, we'll see. Okay, some more questions. I wonder whether laminating the finished picture would stop the cracking. That's a really good idea, actually. I may do that. Thank you for that, Angela. Have you painted on glass? Have I painted on glass? I'm sure one time, and then I probably disliked it and scraped it off. But yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility. I really like the way that it layers on top as well. Painted on mirror and on copper. Yeah, I think mirror would be great because especially doing self-portraits, you can do a painting and essentially, outline your own face. Okay, anyway, I won't take any more questions until the end, which will be, I'll probably stop at 3:50, perhaps, half an hour. So, to begin, I'll just go through all of my colours. So, cadmium red, I always use. Burnt sienna, lemon yellow. I didn't say this on the materials list, but definitely Crimson Alizarin, which I use sometimes, so I just thought I would have it here. French Ultramarine, or just Ultramarine. Burnt Umber, especially for doing the base layer, and then Lamp Black and Titanium White, of course. So I'll begin with just diluting some Burnt Umber, and I'll start with the shape of the face. Sometimes I use chalk. Perhaps maybe I'll just start in chalk for you to see. Sometimes I start in chalk because then the oil picks it up and you can't see the underlayer. Whereas if you were to do a layer, an underlayer in Burnt Umber, for example, you'd be able to see it. So I quite like starting with that. And I would also go for the lights instead of the darks. Usually we would tend to begin with the darks, but I really like to do it with the lights. So we shall see how it goes. Okay. And let me know if you can. No, I guess you can't see that, can you? Okay, I'll start with the Burnt Umber then. That's okay. I also tend to paint on unopened canvases. So I use an unopened canvas as my palette because I think that it's the kind of plastic feeling, so it picks up all of the paint. Whereas if I were to paint on, use a palette, what else did I use? I don't know, a wooden palette, I feel like it would absorb some of the paint. So painting on plastic is really useful. And then, when this is done, you just chuck it away. And it saves a lot of effort and energy. So I'll just start with my base layer in Burnt Umber. So I'll just mix some white spirit. And again, if you have any questions, just type them in the box and I will answer those at the end. And also, remember there's the 40-minute timeout, and then just click on the link again. Okay. So always start with the nose. That's what I always do. I feel like it's very easy to get the face wrong if you don't have the nose right. You see, I've already started too high, so. And that's why I just quite like doing this base in the watered down white spirit. Is that right size? I don't even think it's over there, it's more. I'll just start with a very basic kind of nose. And then the mouth is somewhere. But normally, I would spend a lot of time on drawing. I would use a pencil or again chalk or this, and I would try and make it perfect. I always put my piece upside down or sideways or just some strange angle to have a look at it from the different sides. I feel like it gives you a much better perspective of the work. So I've gone a bit too high here, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. Just check if there's any.
Have you done something that means that you're no longer this thing we're seeing on the screen?
Can you not see me on the screen?
Oh, you're back now.
Okay.
Well, I was getting one of the...
Oh, you've muted yourself now. I couldn't hear that. Could you repeat it, please?
Sorry. There was a stage when I was seeing one of the audience in full screen and not you.
Well, maybe if...
I don't know whether everyone else was.
No, it's just because somebody isn't muted, and so you get the main picture of whoever's made the noise. So if everybody mutes, then no, that won't happen.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, just blocking in the main elements of the face. Again, this is a self-portrait, so... because I don't have anyone else to paint, so enjoying my face for a whole hour. Twice. Looks alright. Move back a bit, see how it looks. I'm sure you can probably see what I can't see currently. I think the mouth needs to go behind. I've accentuated my cheekbones. Definitely not on purpose. Okay. Alright, and now time for going upside down to see how that looks. I would recommend this technique to anyone. I think it's helped me so much to improve my accuracy. And then I'll go sideways and then the other side. I think it looks... Can you see? You can see alright? So, yeah, I think I did start a bit too high, but it doesn't really matter. And now I'll just start to block in some of these dark areas. You can always go over them in lighter colour later. The hair, I would always start off with the dark sweat. So for example, here is quite dark, and down here, just start blocking this in. And then you can add a lot of details later. I think this is probably the most important part of any painting, is just getting the dimensions correct and accurate. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter if you get the dimensions accurate or not. You could, be painting one person and discover that you painted someone completely different, which makes it all the more fun. So does anyone else like to paint upside down? Anyone? Yeah? I see some hands up.
I don't paint upside down, but after I finish, I just, with my drawing, I just check in the mirror upside down.
Yeah.
And I'm not happy with that. Then I will actually correct anything that I think needs to be retouched. But normally, I just look upside down at the painting or drawing in a mirror and see how it looks like. And it helps me to spot anything that is not accurate 100% or that I want to reshade or change completely.
Yeah,
I do this. I'm the same. I halfway through or part of the way through, I'll keep turning it. It is. I won't actually paint, but I certainly will, like Antonella does. Yeah.
I thought I was just one freak who just likes...
No, it's quite a... Sorry to disappoint you, but a lot of people do.
Well, I did learn it from another artist, so...
Hey, do you use a mirror at any point?
Yeah, sometimes I paint with a mirror and just block out my own face, but I think I know my own face so well now, it's kind of boring. I know, the angles of the shape. I think that's why
I don't mean that.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, like, to look at the painting in a mirror.
Oh, no, I've never done that before.
Try that, because that's a very good tip.
Oh, thank you.
Because then you see a different picture entirely. It's not only upside down, sideways, back to front. It's back to front, but it really points out any discrepancies so clearly straight away.
Oh, okay, I'll do that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I realised I was using quite a small brush.
Don't forget where you heard it.
Say again, sorry? Anyway, I realised I was using quite a small brush, so now Okay, anyway, I think that looks about fine. We don't want to spend too long on the darks and the lights. Maybe just put in the eyes. Eyebrows a bit too high, actually. But then, you know, when you start putting in the actual details, you'll always understand the form and shape a lot more. So. Okay. Shall we go on to... So I'm just putting on some cadmium red hue, some burnt sienna. I never really use many more colours than this because I think colour mixing is definitely a very important part of one's art. Becoming comfortable with that. There was once a time where we had very few colours. I think. I'm pretty sure. I know blue was made from... What's it called again? It's very difficult to get the colour blue, so I'm glad that I have it now. White. Okay. So now we've got some other colours. Let's begin. And I don't really use much white spirit as I'm painting. I like the creaminess of the colour, so I'll go back upside down. That looks a bit weird now. It's always like that, isn't it? Try and make it better and it looks worse, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so mix some lemon yellow with some cadmium red. Just very little bit. So I tend to block in these lights first as well. I quite like putting some interesting, strange, unusual colours in, like that shouldn't really be there, like perhaps a bit of blue or green. So I'll do a bit of that soon. So I think the face isn't just made up of a certain few colours. I think it's not it's not just lemon yellow and cadmium red and white. It's so many other colours which create the face. So I'll start adding some of those soon. And I believe so there's 3 minutes left. So once it's cut out, if everyone just clicks on the link again, and then you'll just be sent right back. And I'll pause to make sure everyone's on until then. I'll paint until the timer goes out. blue. Can you see very well? You can see all the, yeah. It's a bit darker by the forehead. There's less than a minute left, so if everyone just clicks on the link sent again, please, then and you'll just be sent right back here. I find as I continue on with the painting and as I add more colours, because I normally just start with the white, the lemon yellow and the cadmium red, it tends to blend a lot, and so I kind of lose the original colours that I had, you know, as I add more blue or more brown. So I think I'll just have to start another. Okay, so there was, I believe, 27 of us before, so I'd just wait till there's a couple more. Now it's 20. Okay, I think whilst we're waiting for some more people, I'll just get some other drawings I've done to show you. I'm in colour pencil. There we go. Okay. So here is a drawing that I did. And you can I think you can kind of see here the waxiness of the drawing. In this piece, I used colour pencil, again, PrismaColours, and it's quite shiny. I think perhaps if I added a glaze, that would help. But yeah, so if anyone wants to start with colour pencils, I think just make sure that you add a glaze or something like that to help. Okay. It will continue. I also think that some of the comments were disappeared when when it cut off. So perhaps if anyone remembers their questions, that'd be fantastic. You could repost them. Sorry about that. I take that. Also, I'd love, if people have been painting along with me, I'd love it if you could email it to the Harrow Art Society, and then we could all have a look afterwards at your lovely painting. Okay, so I made the eye too low. I think someone's by the way, so if you could just mute their microphones, please. maybe I'll start filling in the eyes. I like the way you place the shadow of your nose across your cheek. Thank you. Okay, great.
We've got you back now, Bethany.
Okay, fantastic. Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you for your help.
That's all right.
So I'm just painting the side of the nose here, the shadow. Doing that in a burnt umber. But then before that I had mixed cadmium red with some ultramarine blue to create a slightly purple tone, because that's what I can see in the image slightly. That's better. I always use too small or too big of a brush, so it's much better. I think there's a quite slight reddy brown next to my nose, so I'm just mixing some cadmium red with brown, burnt umber. Like that. Side. See, I said I would go to my eye now, and then I got distracted. And I always do that as I'm painting. I start somewhere and end somewhere completely else. Somewhere else entirely, I mean. But that's okay. Just going to wash my brush. I do think it's worth having separate brushes that you use for separate colours. Like, I always start off with one brush using it white, and perhaps I use it for lots of different places around the face, but then it always starts to merge into, I'll add some red or I'll add some brown, and then my brush has been tainted and then I have to clean it again, so that's just a thought. Maybe something that would improve my practice in the future. I think normally also I would spend a lot more time getting the dimensions correct and the shape of everything. So I think I'm still trying to do that here, even though I don't really have the time to do so, but it's okay. I mean, there's not that long, so I think we'll just try and do as much as we can. And then, obviously, of course, perhaps if I could email Cookie White could email the photo to the Harrow Art Society, and then you can finish your paintings if you're copying this one too. So I've kind of blocked in again with a pinky colour the shape of my eye, but then I'll go over in the actual colours that I'm going to be using as I continue. Can you see? And also, I'll be answering questions at the end, so if you would like to just submit some questions into the chat box, that would be great, and I can get to those a bit later. Perhaps I have quite a strange way of painting. I do tend to just get distracted by things. I'll start with like I did before, I'll start with the eye and then continue on with the nose, but I think perhaps as I paint more in my life, it'll get better.
Bethany, can you show us your palette sometimes?
So here's where I'm at currently. I tend to stretch out a lot, as you can see. So I tend to have quite a few palettes going, but I'm only on my first one at the moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Somebody asked, what brushes do you use there?
I bought these off Amazon. They're just basic flathead brushes. I can find the link and I can send it to the Harrow Art Society who send it on, if that's something you'd like. Because I mean these brushes are very cheap. I think probably £8 for a pack of 10.
Wow.
And they're fantastic. I really like them. I don't, you know, they're good enough for me. So something wrong. I think the nose is too big. It is. And this is why it's important to get the dimensions correct before you start painting. But that's fine. I think also because sometimes when I'm drawing, I really like the thing that I've drawn, and so I don't want to get rid of it even if it's in the wrong place or if it looks horrific. Not horrific, but, you know, if it looks completely wrong. But I think the perks of doing something where you build up the layers instead of, like, you know, with my colour pencil drawings, I'll just go straight into the colour. I won't do any kind of underlayer. I'll do a base drawing in pencil, and then I'll just build it up with the. Is that better? I have to turn it up so but with oils, because you can layer on top, so I think it makes it a bit easier, and you don't have such a connection to your piece yet. think hair slightly covers the eye a bit more, actually. Also, normally when I'm drawing with pencils, I would spend a lot of time getting the proportions correct, like absolutely perfect, to make sure that I don't make any mistake, because unlike oils where you can just go over it and, you know, if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. With colour pencils, it's a bit different, and you can't really go back. I mean, some of them you can use a rubber, so sometimes I use a rubber, but of course it doesn't do the same job as when you're using a rubber for, like, proper pencil, for example, and there's no, like, PrismaColour rubber. So.
Mm.
Now on my palette looks like this. I've mixed some red. Okay, so it's 3 o'clock, almost. Cookie, I was thinking perhaps once the class is over, if I just stay on and people can continue to watch if they like, because I'll probably finish my painting. What do you think?
Okay, well, you know, I've put it out between 2 and 3:30, so actually you carry on until you've got the basics, maybe get the mouth done. That would be lovely. We'd like to see the mouth. Up the right way, please. Very difficult to see, but yeah, I mean, if you're okay to carry on, if people are okay to carry on watching, they think that we're going to be 3:30 anyway, or near enough, so is that okay, Bethany?
Yeah, that sounds great. So I'll just continue. So after the 3:30 point, when I'll do all the questions, and then people, of course, because that's the end of the session, people can...
Well, you can stop. I mean, if you like, you can stop at, say, 20 past and then have 10 minutes of questions.
Okay.
Nice one.
That sounds...
Okay? Is that okay?
Yeah, and then, yeah, fantastic. And
And
then
if anybody wants to ask a question in between, they can do so now, because sometimes people don't know what they don't remember what they wanted to ask, and so if you don't mind being asked, then they'll probably... Is that okay?
yeah, thank you.
For your first time, Bethany, you're doing very well.
think the eyes are too far away from cover that up. Better? Much better. Looks much less alien now. At least to me. Perhaps it looks more alien to you. I think the mouth needs to go up.
I just wanted to tell everybody that Bethany is still just 17. She'll be 18 in 2 weeks. And this is certainly the first time she's ever done a Zoom class. I think she's doing very well. Thanks. And I hope you all agree.
I certainly do.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you feel that way. Oh, I also I used to we used to have towels that were just old, and so I cut them up, and sometimes I used just, towels, like actual towels, but just chopped into little squares, and then use those to take off parts. But at the moment, I just have my tissues, because the towels tended to smell of white spirit very strongly. It's quite unpleasant, so I got rid of those.
Good.
I also have many jars going at the same time with brushes. This is what I have currently. So I've just got my paintbrushes in different jars, depending on the colour. The colours that the brush holds at the time. And then my white spirit jar. And I showed you my palette. Also, sometimes what I do, which my teachers hate me for, is I take off the paint. I just take it off. Because, for example, if I'm trying to get the image together and the proportions all correct, obviously you'll have, brown here and then white there, and it builds on top of the paint builds on top of itself. And so what happens is, like, as I'm layering on top, the colours are mixing with the ones that are below. I'm covered in paint. It's not good. Don't look at that. So yeah, the colours tend to blend together, and so I'll just scrape it off. I'll just get rid of it, because I know that I could create a better piece of work. And once you have the shape, that's kind of all you really need. So I'll keep it off. Just to get back the underlayer, the first layer, and then I'll build it back up again. But my teachers do get very angry at me. Okay, so there's 9 minutes left of this call. So perhaps we'll do questions now. Actually, I guess there's half an hour left of the call. So if we, perhaps if we hang up now and then rejoin, and then I can do a question and answer session. Actually, if we'll go to the end of, so there's 8 minutes and 40 seconds. If we'll go to the end of this and then re-log on, and then do the question and answer session.
Do we use the same link?
Say again, sorry?
We use the same link.
Use the same link. Use the same link. So the same thing that you did before.
Okay.
I know it's complicated. It's very frustrating.
You may ask you if you're going to try and go in for Portrait Artist of the Year next year.
Yeah, my teachers suggested that actually. I think perhaps I could do that. One of the pieces which I was thinking of submitting is an image of me with light around my face. I think it's downstairs, so I don't think I could show you. But the thing is, that image was inspired by the artist Emma Leone Palmer. I'll type it in the chat box if anyone wants to look her work up. She's one of my favourite artists. Her work is amazing. Emma Leone Palmer. And she actually won Sky Portrait Artist of the Year, so our pieces are very similar. The one that I would have put in is very similar to the one that was awarded, that won. So now I'm not quite sure. I think I'll have to create something else to submit.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay. So now there's less paint on the page, but there's also the image that I wanted. Can you see? But now there's the image that I wanted, so I can layer up without having all this paint. Which helps me a lot. Perhaps it's less interesting for you to watch me destroy my painting, but it does help, I think. And also, because oil paint separates, I always put my oil paint into a separate glass, and then it will separate, and I can just reuse it. So, for example, here, not the oil paint, the white spirit separates. So here I've got my oil paint at the bottom, and the spirit has separated. This was probably like a dark black originally. Use it. So now I'm putting in the colours that I actually want. I'm paying a lot more attention to the colours and the value of the colours as I'm putting them on and as I'm mixing them. So that I know that now I'm looking at the aesthetic of it rather than the technicality and the practice, like the the technical aspect of it. This is my palette. Okay, so there's 2 minutes left, so if everyone just clicks the link again, when the 2 minutes is up, then we'll have our question and answer session. Okay, so there's less than a minute left, so just make sure that when it cuts out, as it will do automatically, that you click on the link again. There are a few questions here waiting. Let's see. Laptop. Brushes, tips on painting. Size of brushes. Colleges. Ah, your comments are so lovely, everyone. Okay, so I've noted down some of your questions, so I'll answer them in the next Zoom call, which will be hopefully very soon. Ooh,
There you go.
I want to see you get the mouth right. That's what I want.
Oh, the mouth.
I know.
I've got to walk the dog, so I'll have to leave you for a minute.
Okay, well, thank you for joining.
Make sure you take your wellies. It's very wet out there.
I know, I can see. I haven't got welly for the dog, though.
Okay, so we continue. you see well? Is the quality?
Yeah.
I think we'll continue. Why don't I paint and you can ask me questions and then I'll answer.
Yeah, we want to see you paint, not ask questions. Both.
Both, yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know whether it's my screen, but the colour I can't see at all. It's not very HD, and I can't see the colours well. I don't know about anybody else. I can see your painting, but I can't see quality of colour at all, which is a shame because I don't know what you're putting on.
Currently, I haven't done many bright colours. I'm just starting with the lights and the darks, really, and then I'll build up some different, more exciting colours.
Yeah.
You know, you can see the brown and you can see the slight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I really have. I mean, there's a bit of yellowy white there. But...
Bethany, if you continued this, would you put the curls in your hair? Or is straight hair a wishful thinking? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I would put the curls in, and I would. I would quite like to do the lights on the hair. I think that looks quite good. And so, what's good about this is I've just done a very base colour, and then I'll obviously add more darks and lights as I continue.
Right. Will you continue this even when we're not here? I mean, will you actually bring this painting to a finish, and then we can see it? Yeah.
I'd like to.
Because we'd like to see
perhaps we'll bring Bethany back to see the final painting.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Would everybody like to see that?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yes. Do you find it easier to paint from a photo or from a live person?
Well, I think because I haven't done much life drawing in the past, because obviously at school we only do, it's just A-level work. It's not very kind of high level art. We haven't done much life drawing. We did do a couple of life drawing sessions. So I haven't had much experience, so I tend to just paint from photographs. But I think definitely as I progress with my artistic career, let's say, I definitely do a lot more life drawing. I think life drawing kind of
Yes, I think I'll do some hair.
Mm-hmm. Bethany, you're welcome to come on a Monday. This Monday I have a model posing as Matisse's Odalisque. I'd like to invite you as my guest.
That's very nice, Cheryl.
But it's online.
Oh, I'd love to come.
Zoom. I have another foundation student. I don't teach. I just host the class.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll send you the blurb and the link. And that's Monday from 7 till 9.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Thank you so much.
That's my guest. She's going to be doing about 4 25-minute poses, or maybe one pose is going to be 45 minutes, I don't know. But it'll give you time to experience the portrait online. I mean, it's completely different to the life room, but it's more fulfilling than a photograph, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah. Because I guess you still get the element of, like, a physicality.
You get physicality, and you get, I mean, obviously she's breathing, living,
You haven't got it.
blinking. Yeah. I'll send you the link.
Oh, thank you very much. I really like it.
My pleasure. Anybody else interested, let me know.
Yes, please.
Margaret does, Margaret Morley. She comes on Monday. And Hume does.
Yeah, I've only just returned to... I just lost the plot for the last 10 minutes. I've only just come back.
I was just saying Hume about Monday. I've just invited Bethany to the class.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And I'm saying that you come, Margaret comes, and I don't know who else in the group, but if anybody is interested, please let me know.
I think Margaret might be aiming for Tuesday this week.
Really? Okay, well, Tuesday we have Angel Gabriel smiting Lucifer. So
And he's a supermodel, isn't he?
the best in possibly the world. Yeah. So there you go.
Oh, I just did my hand now. Just also, please make sure that you're muted again, because I think sometimes we just get some background noise. So if that's all right, if everyone could just mute themselves, just pop up for questions or type it in the chat box, and then I can answer them.
I don't have a chat box, but
I think if you look at the bottom of the screen, it says chat.
I'll find it. I don't want to play around because I might end up chucking you off.
Well, I think at the bottom on the screen it should say mute, stop video, and then a couple other things, and then chat. And if you just click on that, you'll see spaces for you to type.
You should know because you might want to use it at some point.
Well, I bought an iPad for dummies, but it's down in deal. So there it will stay.
I'll just show you where mine so you can look at it and say, right, okay. Down here, I've got mute number, mute.
Yeah.
Right, you know that one. The red line's through it.
Yes.
Here I've got start video, but I'm not on video. That's my name. I blanked.
Well, so I can mute you for you if you'd like.
Who? Me?
I can mute you for you.
Am I not muted?
No.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Why don't I mute everyone, and then if you want to say something, you can just say.
Okay.
I think everyone's. Okay, so as you can see, I've just put in some of the nose, but I think it's slightly darker here where my nose, like where this corner part is, and then it gets into the shadow. So I'll add some dark values there, but currently I'm just filling it in just to make sure that I know where it is, and then maybe I'll go through the same process of rubbing it out and then applying the paint again, so it doesn't layer on top of each other. Also, I did do it a bit too dark here, but that's okay because I guess you could just mix it on the painting. So this is what my palette looks like. So it's very messy, and I tend to make it very, very messy, but. And something I like about the flathead brushes is it creates this, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of square. Can you see? It's very square, and I really like that. I think I guess I just like the way it looks on the page and how it works with the painting. In the first painting that I showed you at the beginning, on acetate, on the plastic that I didn't oil, and I used a flathead brush for that, and I think that's where I started to like them, because you have quite a lot of control and get wide surfaces and then very thin surfaces too. So I'm just going to take some off again, and I do this constantly as I'm painting. I'm very indecisive with the things that I do. So sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. So I'm always like just going in and then taking off. But I think, it's a process. That's the beauty of it, really. It doesn't have to be perfect. It shouldn't be perfect. It's boring that way. Okay, so there's a question from Gilly. Could you tell us a bit about where you want to go with your art, like uni and what you want to pursue? So where I want to go with my art. Well, as I said before, I'd quite like to apply, well, I am applying to foundation courses. And I think foundation is really great because it gives you the freedom to choose where you want to go. But I think the main place where I'd like to go is Goldsmiths, so I could practice my art as well as studying history of art as well, because that's something I'm very passionate about as well. And I was thinking, I mean, it's less the painting and the drawing of it. It's more just being in a creative world. So that's what I'd like to be in, at least. So I think I've been considering different artistic pathways like film and television. I'd quite like to do something director, in the realm of perhaps being a director or something in film and television, and see how that goes. And then, perhaps a painter. Something I think I'd like to have in a job is to be around a lot of people. I do like the social aspect of work. Origami dragons. So, do I have one on hand?
Oh, we'd love to see an origami dragon. I love dragons.
Well, I think my dad's on this call. So, Dad, if you want to bring me up some dragons, I can show them.
You should watch a lot more Sky Arts.
Yeah, I should do.
Because you don't, at the moment they're doing landscape painting, but it's still interesting.
Yeah, I really want to.
Yeah, we'll get you addicted to live drawing on Zoom.
Hello, Mother. Oh, a dragon, thank you. Do you want to come in? Dragon. Little dragon.
Oh, lovely. Oh, that is so cute.
Oh, thank you.
Well, there you are. There's your next lesson. You can do how to do origami dragons.
Yeah, it's a bit fiddly though. Very fiddly. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see, because I think the colours aren't coming up as well, but I've used quite a lot of different shades and different tones. Even though I can't necessarily see them, I know that, for example, we could say that this is a flesh tone, a light flesh tone, but that's obviously built up of all the other colours. So I've been applying some light purples and some light browns, and just kind of building up the image of the face through all of these other colours. And I think there was one more question. Hume says, I use round head brush when drawing, then it's all flat head brushes. Oh, okay, maybe I'll try that. Yeah. Interesting. Because I guess you get a very thin line, whereas when you use a flat head brush, you get a thin and a thin.
Your medium to mix with, do you always use low odor finish?
Yeah, I use, this is what I use. Can you see?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't smell, and that was a very big problem.
That cost a few bob, that big one.
Yeah, but it does, it lasts, and again, I always reuse my white spirit. So here, the oil will sink to the bottom, leaving the white spirit, and it will be.
You don't mix it up.
Yeah. Sometimes I tend to shake it accidentally, and it just mixes the colour in again. Angela said, "What size brush do you use?" So I bought this selection of brushes. I think there's a couple more. Oh. Covered in paint, but yeah, lots of different sizes. I'll send the link to the brushes that I purchased on Amazon. After after the call. Though I will stay on for quite a while, so I'll try and finish this piece. If everyone wants to stay with me, I'm happy for you to stay on the Zoom call, and then I'll just continue painting. But again, feel free to leave. I mean, it's 48 past, so almost 20 minutes past the time of finishing this call. Past the, what's the word? Yeah, past when this was supposed to finish. Yeah, if you'd like to stay, please do. Christine Larkin says, I once went to a Winsor & Newton demonstration day at the Mall Galleries and was advised to use quick drying poopy oil, which had no smell and the paint dries quicker. So I tried it and found it was very useful. I can't use taps because my brother is allergic to the smell, yeah. Yeah, the smell is horrible.
What is poopy oil, Christine? What is it? Poopy oil? Poppy oil?
Poppy.
Poppy.
I said, oh dear.
No.
I do A-level English and I can't read.
Can you show us your self-portrait, please, Bethany?
Yeah.
No, not that one. The one you painted earlier that you said you might enter for Sky Artist of the Year.
Oh yeah. It's downstairs. If anyone in my family is listening, it's above the radio in the living room. Hopefully they'll be upstairs if they can hear me. I think maybe a nice exercise to do would be to paint with a red light. I've got these coloured lights in my bedroom, and when you have the red light on, you can't see any colour. So you simply have to work with the value of the colour. And I think that's a really important exercise because we tend to look for colour and tend to work with it through the colour. But when you look at value, I think that's really important. And so perhaps a blue is, of course, darker than yellow. And so with the red light, you would be able to tell the different value. Hello. Yeah, that one. Thank you. This is the drawing that I did, that I was considering putting in for Sky Artist Portrait. Sky Art Portrait Artist of the Year, but then the artist whose work I was inspired by, she also won Sky Portrait Artist of the Year, so I think it's very similar work. And again, her name is Emilione Palmer. I think I'll just type that in the chat box again, in case you'd like to have a look. Emma Palmer, so you can see it's very similar.
Was that paint, that picture, or was that colour pencil?
That was in colour pencil.
Yeah. Your colour pencil is fantastic.
Thank you.
Can we see a close-up of it, please?
Yes. I be able to post some attach file? Yeah, I think I can attach a file directly into the chat box so you can have a look. So are other people painting along with me? Who else is painting?
I've done a charcoal drawing.
Oh, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I think I'm pinned. Is everyone pinned? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'm holding mine up.
Hold on, let me pin you so everyone can see. Oh, lovely. Oh, that's really nice.
Thanks.
Oh, I love it. That's fantastic. Very nice. Anyone else? Oh, we have another one. Spotlight video.
Oh,
oh wow, lovely.
Great, yeah, that's good.
You've definitely worked faster than I have. I think you're muted.
Norma was the reason that I joined Harrow Art Society in the first place, because I fell in love with her portraits. And I said, wonderful portraits, and she was stewarding at the time. And it was because of Norma that I joined all those years ago. She's a wonderful portrait painter.
Yeah, exactly. Here.
You're muted. Yeah, I can hear you now.
There you are.
One thing that fascinated me about the Portrait Painter of the Year is that as soon as the people sit down to pose, everybody gets their cameras out. And I feel that a lot of the painters simply look at what they've got on their cameras instead of live models, because I would go straight for the live model. But then I'm not a technical person at all.
But isn't the reason that they're too far away? They're not going to be able to get close enough to be able to get a likeness. So isn't that, surely that's one of the reasons.
I thought maybe also to size it up, then maybe this positioning, it's the compositional aspect as well. These things, I reckon.
Yeah.
Also, they've got a 4-hour strict limit. So in order to get the likeness and finish the painting in 4 hours, they give themselves a head start by trying to be accurate in the drawing.
Yeah.
Well, it suits me that way because I only paint from photographs. I'm afraid.
Sorry to interrupt. There's about 3 minutes left, so you can click on that link again, and then it will be another 40 minutes. But I'm just going to continue painting. I'll probably, if people would like, I'll just continue Zoom calls until I finish my painting. If you'd like, I mean, it might get extremely boring, but so if you would like to leave, then
I don't suppose everybody will want to stay until you finish your finishing at 12 o'clock tonight. So we'll probably call it a day. I would imagine. I mean, if people do want to stay on, they're welcome. But as far as we're concerned, we're calling it a day. I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
Cookie and I will call it a day, and then we'll phone you up and tell you how wonderful you are.
Oh, thank you.
Can you Bethany, pop your email in the chat box, please?
Okay, I will do. I'm just getting this photo that I did of my up to show you. Find it on my.
Bethany.
Okay, so there's less than a minute left. So if you'd like to stay for another 40 minutes, please click on that same link again. I've just uploaded this photo onto the chat box that I did, and I'll upload it onto the next call as well. But if not, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. I hope it was useful and enjoyable, and hopefully see you soon. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. Thank you.
Look forward to having you one of these days.
Thank you, Bethany.
You're welcome.
Bye bye.
Thank you for joining.